Hey, everybody out there at the Voice of Geeks Network here at VOG Network. It's Rob Roberts, and I'm joined by somebody who's saying deal with it with those
Deal with it.
glasses. Say hello to Bobby Blackwolf.
Deal with it. This is Bobby Blackwolf.
We're back from TwitchCon. We were just there over the weekend in sunny, and a little bit windy Las Vegas. We had to share the stage there with a music festival that was really taking over the town. We will talk all about that and much more in our experiences and feedback on TwitchCon 2023. So, Bobby, this was your first TwitchCon ever, so I'm
Yeah.
really curious. But I also know for you, it was almost like a Games Done Quick mini con
Yeah.
of sorts
Yeah. It
because you were
was
heavily involved with the Games Done Quick Express. But
yes. I spent most of my time there.
yeah, which makes
Um
sense.
no, it was actually kind of for what I would get out of it, it is kind of what I expected.
Hmm.
And I am not like I participate in Twitch culture, but I am not that much of a participant in Twitch culture to know who the top people are.
Hmm. Hmm.
I've seen some of their names and so I mean, like, I am familiar with the names. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't know who any of these kids are. No, I do know who some of them are. I just don't participate with their content.
Sure. No, I'm
And
right there
so
with you.
that's
Yeah.
and that's a lot of TwitchCon is meeting the people that you participate with,
Hmm. Hmm.
because it is very community focused and all that stuff. So I expected, like, yes, I'll go through the expo hall and then there, maybe some panels or events or something like that. But it was essentially what I expected in terms of what I got out of it. What about you?
Well, okay, can I start with the negative? Because I have to get it off my
No.
chest. Like it's gonna no, I need to. I need to start with the negative. So, okay, my biggest complaint about TwitchCon 2023 is the city of Las Vegas. And I think you're gonna hear a lot of people
Hmm.
that come back. And I have friends in Vegas, and I just want to say, like, it was great to see, I got to see one of my local friends there that I haven't seen in literal years. Like all that is great. But even the locals in Las Vegas will tell you that the F1 formula racing is screwing everything up.
Yep.
And that, any most, I would say a good 95% of Las Vegas locals avoid the strip at all costs unless there's a concert there they want to see, because that, the perk of being
Hmm.
in Las Vegas is you get a lot of great concerts in your backyard, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing is that, I've been to a few Twitch cons now. I've been to the one in San Francisco. I've been to one, the very first one in San Francisco. I went to the one in San Diego last year. San Diego and San Francisco are set up much better to handle these types of conventions, which is weird because I've said on OLR for a long time, Vegas is a convention town. It's the place to be for conventions and so forth. I I mistakenly have applied a filter from 20 years ago to that mindset. Now, I know some may still say Vegas is a great place for cons. It's not a great place for cons right
Hmm.
now. With all this construction going on downtown with the F1 Formula Racing, it just Lyft, Uber, taxis, even real pain to get around, expensive to get around. The convention center, not like there's a couple hotels close by, but you're going to be relying on monorail to get there, which
Hmm.
if you have a music festival that 100,000 people are going to the same weekend, the monorail is going to be packed and unusable for somebody that, sometimes gets claustrophobia, which is me. I had a full on, like, I can't get on this monorail. I had to walk. We walked to TwitchCon 2 of the days. So long story long, things are expensive, way too expensive on the strip in Vegas. I guess I could have maybe tried to stay off strip and do it that way, but then I feel like I'm robbing myself of the ability to like do stuff outside of TwitchCon, which is the whole
Right.
reason you kind of do it in Vegas in the first place, right? I
Yeah.
just don't think Vegas was a great match for this con, especially in 2023. And I think the city has a lot to figure out with how to balance F1 Formula Racing construction with all this other stuff. That was the
Yeah.
biggest pain. And I have to get it off my chest because it's the biggest negative that got in the way. It
Right.
made me late to the con just about every single day, and so forth. So I really hope TwitchCon goes back to San Diego, Long Beach. Shoot, if they're going to do a new city every year, that's fine. They seem to prefer the West Coast, probably because TwitchCon is based in San Francisco. I know people are like,
Yeah.
take it to Chicago, take it to New York. That's all fine and good.
Take it to Atlanta. We have a
Yes.
huge convention center.
Yeah, I mean, and they can pack 80,000 people into a place like Dragon Con. Granted, different setup, but they can make it work. The city can make it work.
I mean,
It's
our convention center can do the
yeah,
150, 200,000.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Atlanta would be great too. I actually think the West Coast city, I think TwitchCon should happen. Seattle. It makes a lot of sense. And I
Yeah.
I don't live there. I have no, stake in the
Hmm.
game. I just know it's handled a lot of big conventions there at the convention center that went a lot more smoothly than I felt this
Yeah.
one did. But
Yeah, and I don't think TwitchCon is to the numbers of like PAX,
no.
because I when the last time I went to what was called PAX Prime, now PAX West,
Mhm.
it was outgrowing that convention center, and the convention center literally could not expand.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it's been like since. It's been 10 years since I've gone to PAX West.
Yeah.
So I think they've been able to expand a little bit, but I don't think TwitchCon is the size of even what PAX Prime was
No.
in
No.
2011, 2012 last time I went.
No. And so honestly, truthfully, just go back to San Diego. I thought it was fine in San Diego. It was great. Lots to do, beautiful weather. Go back to San Diego. That would be the thing I most want to see. Okay, I had that off my chest, and now I can talk about
Yeah.
the rest of the con.
Well,
So-
well, and I want to kind of piggyback on that while
Yeah.
we're still on the negative thing, because I talked to one of my coworkers who lives out in LA, but he goes to Vegas all the time,
Mhm.
and that's what I said. I said, yeah, Vegas does not have the infrastructure to handle this convention. He's like, whoa, no, that is incorrect, and I'm like, well, and then I started explaining. I'm like, there were 110,000 people at the When We Were Young festival. He's like, Vegas, that's nothing for Vegas. I'm like, no, no, no. Those 110,000 people were on top of the normal hundreds of thousands of people that would have been in Vegas anyway. And they were all using the monorail and blah, blah, blah. And he finally conceded that maybe I had a point, but he's like, the AWS conference has 150,000 people.
Yeah.
And the infrastructure is just fine.
Yeah. No, and I get
because
it.
it works for them.
Like CES is a big deal and it's
Yeah.
fine. There's tons of F1 Formula racing has not been a problem until now. That is the key difference, I'm telling you. So
And it's going to be a problem for the next 10 years.
Yes. So I don't know. Alan put it best when we were in Vegas for this. F1 Formula racing through downtown Las Vegas at night, which technically is actually the city of paradise, but I digress.
Yes.
F1
I learned that from my app.
from Little Pikmin going on.
From Pikmin, they're all from paradise. Yeah.
F1 Formula racing on the strip is great in a video game, not in real life.
Yeah.
All right. Back to the good. So Bobby,
Yeah.
so you talk about like it met your expectations. What were some of those expectations you had that, you felt TwitchCon was good about?
I mean, it was like being a big sense of community. Like they did really do a good job of like pushing the community aspect of things, because that's the difference between Twitch and like traditional television or movies, is that there is, yes, it's a parasocial relationship, but it's still a relationship. And Twitch really did a good job of trying to highlight that with the meet and greets, with the panels and stuff, and to welcome other people into the fold. It democratizes entertainment, is really what Twitch and streaming has done. And then, the expo hall, I expected to be, either like, games trying to push themselves as streamers or streamer utilities. And that's what was in there. And it was a nice little size. I walked through like twice and saw what I wanted to see. But like, if I didn't have GDQ, I probably would not have spent as much time at TwitchCon. I would have been like, all right, what's going on elsewhere in Vegas? I'm here. It's a great excuse to be here. But I had the Games Done Quick Express, which was running all 3 days, and I was pretty much in there for just about the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think what TwitchCon does very well is it is about, let's get the community together, and and if that community goes out and does something else, which is what I ended up doing one or two of the nights, go out and do something else with this community that I know on Twitch, that it's good. It was very expensive in Vegas, but it was good. It was good to be able to do that stuff. So TwitchCon ends up being like a hub. It's your LFG hub, and then you take your party and you go out on an adventure. That's TwitchCon.
Yeah.
But I will say, on the strong positive for TwitchCon, I'm going to give them props on this. I really feel like they did implement a lot of feedback people had last year, which is why I hope they'll take the feedback they're hearing on the location to heart, because I felt like the meeting spaces for Meetup was much bigger and worked a lot better. So I went to an LGBTQ streamer meetup that the space was much bigger. They had somebody there organizing a picture. They made that run a lot better. For those that do like to meet the big streamers with thousands of followers and so forth, they ran those lines and managed that a lot better. There was a lot less complaints about how that was working. Maybe people couldn't get in on the app, but at least everybody had a fair shot, and you knew without wasting time if you're going to do that or not. And I felt the layout was pretty good, and I think there was a lot that they really did take some of the feedback and they implemented it very well. So I do want to give them kudos on that. You brought up something that actually was going to be a point of mine. You were talking about the expo hall, and you said you were kind of expecting it to be games that were pushing themselves to streamers or streamer utilities. I sort of felt like it was maybe like 10, 20% games pushing themselves to streamers. You had a
Hmm.
few, like Genshin Impact had a big booth.
Yeah,
I think Deceive or one of those games had, a
Tarkov
presence.
or
Yeah, there
something.
was a few. I'm surprised there's not more. And I think one thing I would like to see Twitch think about doing for a future year is inviting more indie devs into a space like, what's that space called that when E3 was good? They had the indie
And Shahal.
area, not Kensha Hall, but like in the later years, they had like a space, the indie
Oh,
showcase,
Indiecade.
Indiecade,
Indiecade is
Indiecade.
the but that's at PAX. You're thinking
Okay,
PAX is
okay.
Indiecade.
Well, they had one at E3, but my point is, I would love to see a space like that where similar to Artist Alley, and it should be very similar to Artist
Yeah.
Alley, which is also very good. I love to see that
Yes.
stuff. Alan spent way too much money there, but it's fine. It's all good. That's what brings him joy.
Yep.
And there should be a space like that for indie, because if you think about it, Twitch has made a lot of games, really. And to be fair, other streaming platforms like YouTube and so forth as well. I don't want to say, oh, Twitch is the game, the kingmaker. But, things like what Marbles on Stream, I would even argue things like Minecraft, Dead by Daylight,
Yeah.
Five Nights at Freddy's. I brought up Deceive a little bit ago. There's a lot of games that they get bigger
Hmm.
because of Twitch. And I bet there's a lot of indie developers out there that would love to get their games in front of people. I bet if it was accessible, I'm going to bring up our friend YYR, friend of the network here, who makes
Yep.
some great indie games, including Snake 360 and Sharpshooter and oh my God, why is the name of the one? Multitasking, super multitasking.
Hmm.
Why is that escaping me? I bet if it was accessible to him and he was able to make the convention, assuming all the personal stuff, he would love to get a game like Super Multitasking in front of as many streamers as possible.
Yeah.
And be giving
Exactly.
out codes and all that to try to get people to stream. And it wouldn't matter. Partner, affiliate. That's the thing. There's a lot of stuff that caters to partners at TwitchCon,
Yes.
which I get it. They make the site money. It's the bread and
Yep.
butter. I get it. Affiliates can make some money and can make, some indie stuff rise up and can really help give visibility to a lot of games as well. And I think
Yeah.
there's a really good missing relationship there between connecting indie/rising games with affiliate. Again, I don't want to make it sound like the convention was absent of games. It wasn't, but
Right.
it could be a lot stronger. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's where I'd like to see Twitch develop a little
And I
more.
will say that, and then the rest of it were like car companies or gas companies trying to seem
And
cool.
that was weird. Why does Chevron? I mean, I get it. They need money in order to run the con, but why do Chevron, Honda, fucking Crocs? Sorry, why do they?
Doritos.
Sorry, I swear. Why do they need spots on the convention floor besides we paid money to be here? And I guess
Yeah.
shoes are, you want to have comfy shoes when you're streaming. It's a
Mhm.
little weird to me. But okay. I mean, they're the ones that
But
paid to be there. Fine.
I also expected it.
Yeah.
Like, so
No, I
that
get
was
it.
part, I expected that because they're trying to catch on the hype of, this is cheap advertisement for them. Because a lot of the people, and the reason that they're saying that, I say that is, yes, there are partners and they are technically professional streamers. They're full-time streamers and all that stuff, but they don't have a professional background. Many of them, they didn't have to go through a lot of, like, I'm not going to say training or anything, but like ethics and type of stuff like that. So that's what these companies are hoping for is, hey, they're going to promote our stuff and we won't have to pay them because we give them cool stuff. Or we treat them like they're cool and they will promote us without us having to pay because they're not as professional as an actor who works in commercials. And so I think that's what some of the companies are trying to do is they can be hip and cool and get free advertising, just for the cost of the booth. They don't have to pay the individuals. And I think maybe that's what they were trying to go for.
This is a super dated reference, but do you remember the movie Wayne's World when
Of
they're,
course.
they're opening the pizza and it's like Domino's or some Pizza Hut, I don't know, and he's like smiling pizza. It made me think of that Doritos booth because I literally think Doritos is one of the products Wayne's World spoofs in that whole thing, right? Where like, oh, if we give a streamer a big bag of Doritos, maybe they're gonna hold it and eat them while they're talking on air, and it's like free advertising. It
Well,
just
that's the
reminds me of that
Dorito
scene.
Pope. That's Jeff Keighley, the Dorito Pope. He had Doritos and Mountain Dew, and he's the Dorito Pope.
Well, where was PepsiCo? I didn't see them on the show floor. Now, are they next year? KFC going to sponsor next year's show?
Well, yeah. Well, Pepsi was all around the convention center. That made me really sad.
Oh, right.
But like Doritos, what they actually had is like they had a little scavenger hunt thing. You tried to find like a QR code, and then they would give you swag
Yeah.
in the hopes that you would put the swag on your stream.
Mm.
I don't know anybody who would do something like that.
It's
And
that scene out of Wayne's World right there.
mhm.
Yeah.
So but I kind of expected that. And so, but like Elgato was there, so I got to see the new teleprompter and
Mhm.
ask some questions about, hooking that up and if I can even do that with the USB ports I have left on my computer. And I think like Streamlabs was
Yep.
there and so, some other streamer tools and stuff.
Mm. Yeah.
Which I know like your first TwitchCon, like that got you some hardware.
Yeah, I
You
bought a
learned a
capture
lot about
card.
the hardware
I
side.
bought a capture card from Elgato at my first TwitchCon. I did.
Yeah.
And so they this year they were trying to sell me a gamepad, which I did like. But
Hmm.
I just I didn't want to like my entire mindset, unfortunately for Elgato and maybe some of the other companies on the floor was I have spent so much money in this city so far. I am not
Yes.
gonna be able to buy an $80
Yep.
controller right now because that's dinner.
Yeah.
So you know, that's
Yep.
but it did get the product in my hand, and I did think, oh, this is smart to put these buttons on the bottom that allow you to do stream deck type of things with these buttons. Like I could see where
Hmm.
I could get use out of this. I might
Yeah.
be interested in one of these later on. So even if I didn't buy
Yeah.
one there, I just talked about it now,
Yeah.
and now I'm talking about maybe wanting one. So a win
Yeah.
for them at the end of the day, right?
And actually in most expos you can't buy straight from the floor like that.
Yeah,
So like at
that's true.
E3 you couldn't buy anything. They
Yeah,
could just show it to you and you bought it later.
right.
So, that TwitchCon allowing the vendors to sell directly from the expo floor, that's also helpful for them
Mm.
because not a lot of shows let you do that.
Tell us a little bit, Bobby, since you are so part of the GDQ community. Tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about how that whole experience went at TwitchCon for you folks with GDQ.
Yeah. So GDQ and TwitchCon have had a long-standing relationship. They've done this is their third GDQX. They did it in 2018 and 2019. And then obviously things stopped for a little bit, and they came back for this. It was nice, and the nice thing about it coming from a GDQ standpoint is that because it's a smaller event, it's benefiting Able Gamers, which is an amazing charity about accessibility in games.
Sure.
But it's also a little lower stress because the viewership's not as high for it, which is to be expected. But so there's less donations coming in, so you can kind of play around with the format a little bit, and you can do some. And we joked
It would say
that
like
it's called
it's not the Olympics, it's a baseball
yeah,
game type of thing.
yes,
Yeah, I
yeah.
get it.
So it's but it's I said that the X stands for experimental. It's really express is what it is. But they were able to experiment with some things that they may bring into the main GDQ stuff. It's a smaller crew, a little more tight knit crew, running everything in the back, and stuff. So they can basically just try things and have a presence. And it's a great place for attendees to come and just sit down in a big room, and being able to get up and leave whenever you want and stuff, and get to see some cool speed runs.
Yeah.
And also it helps. One of the things that was nice is it helped GDQ get some Twitch partners to participate, because the problem with like a mainline GDQ is that if you're there for any amount of days, that's days you're not working, that's days you're not streaming, and if you're a Twitch partner, that's lost income.
Right.
And because GDQ, since it's a charity event, GDQ does not like pay appearance fees for anybody, which is why you don't see huge name Twitch partners at GDQ all that often anymore, because they got to work. But if they're already at TwitchCon, then they can participate. And one of the big things that they did was they brought one of their shows, and this ties to TwitchCon, I promise.
Yeah.
They brought one of their hotfix shows called Grudge Match, hosted by Brosentia, and it's essentially it's a two-player, like they're racing against each other, usually doing blind races. How far can you get in an hour, stuff like that. And they had a team of partners, so it was 4 Twitch partners, put them on teams of 2. All their audience came in, and they had a 2 versus 2 race in Ghosts and Goblins. None of them have ever played it before. And it was in an hour. How far can you get in Ghosts and Goblins having never played it before? And if you died, you handed the controller to the next person. So that's how it was a relay.
Okay.
And it went over really well.
Mhm.
We actually, even the stream, like we had a lot of donations coming in. It was one of the top bigger money makers for the weekend. We raised a little bit over $35,000 for Able Gamers over the weekend.
Not bad.
But being able to integrate more of the Twitch culture in GDQ because
Yeah.
we're at TwitchCon, that kind of elevated both platforms. And I think that was that was how that relationship, and that's kind of what's different in a GDQX than you can find in GDQ. They experiment more, and they've got a larger pool of people to choose from that normally probably wouldn't go to a regular GDQ.
Makes a lot of sense. And for me as an attendee, now I can say I've been to a GDQ, sorta. Like it was neat to be able to see it from that side. I've been able to see what it looks like because you've shown the video on your show and all that stuff. But it was neat to kind of be in the room and be like, okay, so this is like what it feels. This is probably what it feels like in the
It is.
hotel when they do
It
the
is.
thing. Except, obviously you've talked about how an actual, Awesome Games Done Quick or whatever has these other things that are going on. But I was like, you know what? For the most part, I get a little taste of that. It's a little sample of what it might be like to be at the full thing.
That was, at least in that room, that was what it felt like to be in the stream room, including being a little bit colder, especially backstage. Like it gets real because they have all the equipment. All the production studio is back in that backstage. You can even see it usually from you can see where all the production's going on, all the mixers and everything. You can see it from the stream room, from your seat. But yeah, so that actually was. I mean, it felt like a regular GDQ. It's just I went out, instead of being in a hotel, there was a PogChamp dinosaur statue right outside. We were right next to the entrance, which made things very interesting on the morning of the first day. Because everybody screamed when they opened the doors finally at 10 o'clock when we were going live. The room was empty. Our room was empty, but then we heard all the screams, and then apparently Amazon Prime hired the UNLV marching band to come into the lobby and play.
Oh boy.
So during our first speed run, the UNLV marching band is out in that lobby, and this is not like a room with doors. Like, it had the big partitioned walls and stuff, so the walls were open. So it was basically an open space. And the UNLV marching band was doing, playing really loud and stuff. And being a marching band kid, I like that, but it did kind of wreak havoc with our poor speedrunner who was trying to listen for audio cues. And our mics were picking up our mics were picking up the marching band going through.
That's a logistic thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Lesson learned type of thing. Interesting. Yeah, I was gonna when I first, Alan and I kind of first went in that room when we first, we arrived a little late just because with all the other stuff going on. But we went to that room first. And I was like, oh, it's kind of empty in here. I said, well, I guess it is the keynote going on right now, so most people are probably in there looking at that. So I was a little. But then when I went later, I was like, oh, this got a lot more people in here.
Yeah.
As
people
as
found it more.
On. Yeah,
people found it more as the time went on, because like I would talk to people, I'm like, yeah, I'm here with GDQ. We're doing our marathon. They're like, where is it? and so I had to like point people to it, because when you walked in the main entrance, the expo hall was to the right.
Right.
And so that's where you're going. You don't look to the left to see the sign that said GDQX, and it wasn't even a big sign.
Yeah.
It was kind of a smaller sign.
Yeah. I wonder what else at TwitchCon I just totally missed, because that convention center has kind of a funky layout, even if it is a little bigger than what we had in San Diego. So thanks for sharing about the Games Done Quick. I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about, some of the community stuff that, I observed. I'm very happy that Twitch, continues to spotlight a lot of the different diverse communities. I know they were talking about some of the, guilds on Twitch and, trying to, up the presence of that. A lot of LGBTQ representation, which I love to see. I love the fact that they brought the drag showcase back and they did that. But I'm going to be honest, with the drag showcase, there's some, queens, kings, and non-binary folks that do performances that are a little more of a club act that they do on the main stage. Some tailored their act very well for the main stage.
That first one.
Oh, the Lori Bird, I believe, is the who had the the gall and the gumption to call out the 50-50 split in their act.
Yes,
that was so well done, and that's what a drag queen should do, is push the envelope like that, right?
Yes,
that was very well done. I liked their act a lot, and there was some great. I'm not knocking the drag show at all. It was great. There was lots of great stuff.
Yeah.
But the point I want to make is, one of the nights, I want to say it was last night, Sunday night, at a local bar, they had a lot of those same people performing in a Stream Queens drag show. And because it was at the bar/club, those numbers were amped up even higher. And like, I would actually say that was the quote unquote better show, because that's that environment, right? That's where a lot of
Yeah.
those folks kind of live and breathe and do their thing. That was a lot of fun. So I'm really happy I got to do something like that.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I'm thankful Twitch puts that on the main stage,
Yes.
as well as highlighting the diversity of the Twitch community the way they do,
Yeah.
and doing some of their big name stuff. Now, like you, I don't follow a lot of the big names on Twitch, and this isn't me being like, "Oh, I'm too good for that." No,
No.
I get they exist. Like, with
Yeah.
the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez
Mhm.
representative that did streaming, and I know she worked with Pokimane and some of the other big, so obviously
Yeah.
I know some of those people through that. But I don't participate in a lot of those streams because I don't find
Right.
that same sense of community for me in those
Yeah.
streams that I do with some of the
Yeah.
smaller ones.
And the one big partner I follow a lot,
Mhm.
he doesn't do the meet and greets. He was just there, and so I met him. I met out with him just
Yeah.
in front of by the live balloon
Yeah, but you guys
in the
also have
front.
like a
Talked to him
working
for a little bit.
relationship through other stuff, so it's a
Yeah.
little different. But like what was interesting to me, Alan wanted to go see, he does follow a few of those streamers. He wanted to go see, so there was a game show, and I'm going to embarrass myself because I don't know the names of all the
Hmm.
people. I know Hassan was one of the guests. I know he's a
Yeah.
big deal on Twitch. I know Pokimane was one of the guests. I want to say the host of the show was Austin Space, I think his name was. He had some very
Okay.
shiny pants on that I was very jealous of. They were amazing
Hmm.
pants, and they were doing this whole like 70s game show aesthetic sort of thing. It was cute.
Yeah.
It was well done and produced on the main stage and stuff. But I was like, they did this segment where there were like, oh, there's people standing behind the curtain and there's these shadows and you got to figure out who they are. And I was like, ooh, I wonder if they got like a real big celebrity. I wonder if they got AOC to come out, which of course they didn't because of everything that's going on in Washington. But I was like, oh, I
Right.
wonder if they got some big names that are local. It's Vegas. Who knows? They were all like in jokes for their channel. And so I was like, oh, this, okay, yay. Of course I know who this person is. Yay. But
Yeah.
again, I realize I don't follow it. So of course there's going to be jokes that are not meant for me. There
Yeah.
was things like they were like, how much did we pay for this stripper pole online and stuff? And they,
Hmm.
there was stuff that was funny and, I understood it even without following the community. But I just noticed like, wow, how out of the loop am I on some of these jokes because I don't follow some of these bigger names. But
Well, I mean, we would have put Tingle behind one of the curtains
sure,
if
sure.
we were there.
Of course,
So
of course. So yeah, the community kind of does their thing. You get to see, some of the big stuff. But it's neat to see that stuff on a large stage, I will say. And I
yes.
know there were other, like there was a true crime thing they were doing up there and there was a variety of things. The one
Yeah.
person I did recognize was the CEO of Twitch. Him I did
Right.
recognize because he looks like Kenny Rogers.
Yes.
But he's a nice guy. And let me say this too. I want to get this out. I know we've been going for a bit here, but I want to make sure I mention this because I did go one of the panels I went to. I saw in the program and I was like, "Oh, I'm super curious about that." It was a Justin TV panel. And so they
Okay.
were talking about basically the evolution of Justin TV to Twitch. And they even handed us this. We went to the door. I don't have it nearby. I don't have all my stuff like you do, Bobby, nearby. But they gave us buttons with the old Justin TV logo and the gorilla
Wow.
that they had left over. So that
Yeah.
was kind of cool just in itself to get. But the interesting thing about that panel, it was a lot of the heavy hitters with Twitch. It was Justin and a lot of because it was a core group of like 4 or 5 folks that put that original site together, built it, so
Hmm.
forth. And then they had the current CEO of Twitch, the former CEO of Twitch, Emmett, because that was a whole thing earlier this year
Yeah.
when somebody else,
Hmm.
but they were all together in the same room talking about the story and their adventures and so forth. It was neat, and it wasn't a full room; it was maybe half full. But you have some of the biggest like names and influencers of Twitch in the room. It was an interesting thing to see. Here's something to note, and why people think they know what's going on with TwitchCon and stuff. Oh, there's a multi-year agreement. It'll have to be in Vegas again. Da, da, da. Something I wish to point out, nobody else has pointed out, but I'm about to point out what could be the biggest strike against Vegas about this whole convention. Half the panelists arrived late to that panel, and they had to say, sorry, Emmett, and all these. They're caught up in traffic and they're not here yet.
Hmm.
Oops. Oops.
Yep.
So guess what? The Vegas experience was not limited to just the attendees.
Yeah.
If you think the CEO, former CEO, because the CEO had to vamp that for a lot, and they did a good job. Though it was interesting. I thought it was interesting. They talked about getting swatted on day 4 of Justin TV, which to me kind of was like, well, if that wasn't the canary in the coal mine, type of thing.
Yeah.
And they, talked a little bit about some of that experience. And they talked about how YouTube Live attempted to buy them at one point, but they didn't feel like the staff was a good fit for Google.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing a lot, but that's essentially what they were talking about. So I thought, and we were able to ask questions. And I looked over to Alan. I was like, you know what, YOLO, I'm going to do it. And I got up and I asked a question. And I asked a question about, so Justin TV, and I'm sure you've heard, I'm sure you've heard this before, but Justin TV started as an IRL streaming site. Then it went to Twitch, which was video games, and you didn't have IRL. And then Twitch opened itself up to IRL. So I said, what did Twitch learn from that first experience that then applied the second time they opened up IRL? Basically, that was my question. And Emmett was the one that answered it and basically said, you know what, that, and I'm paraphrasing a lot, that whole thing was really about messaging. It was hard to explain what it was basically until like I get basically gaming culture kind of came in and did its thing, and then it allowed that to, you know, take off a little more, which I always think about your experience with doing Friday Night Gaming, Bobby, but that's a
Yep.
whole other 30-minute video we could do. But it was interesting to me because he basically was like, we know, like the vibe I got from him was we didn't really care if people did IRL streaming on it was all a messaging thing. That's all it was. And we just had to wait for that right opportunity for people to understand it, to open it back up to what we wanted it to be. So like the IRL stuff was kind of always the goal. So I thought it was interesting,
Yeah.
that whole thing. So yeah, that panel was neat. And yeah, a lot of heavy hitters in the room that ended up arriving late. So that was the highlight of the con, I guess, for me. Sounds weird to say, but yeah. So.
And then I do know that like the Loot Cave, which is the shop, that was kind of one of the big other draws for people. I went in on Saturday, and you know they still had a lot of stuff in my size. If I wanted a bunch of Twitch gear, I got a TwitchCon shirt because I've never been to TwitchCon, so I got myself a TwitchCon shirt. These sunglasses that I'm wearing, the Deal With It sunglasses, these were from Twitch. I'm never going to wear them again after this. But I will say what's kind of nice is that what it also came, and I paid like $13 for these. Is that it came with a sunglasses bag with the Twitch logo, and my actual sunglasses do fit in this bag. So I actually paid for a Twitch sunglasses bag, and then these Deal With It sunglasses can just like hang out on a shelf somewhere.
Yeah.
I did get the playing cards.
Okay.
Because they were, because they've got the Twitch branding, and it's actually kind of, I opened them up, and they're all black. So they're all like both sides. So that's kind of
you don't see that very often, yeah.
Yeah. So the backside even has TwitchCon Las Vegas on the back, and then like the Joker is the little glitch logo.
Yeah, yeah.
And like all the cards like have like a little kind of sheer pattern. Kind of like, and so
nice.
it was neat. I was like, okay, yeah. So because I mean Vegas cards, you know,
of course.
And then, but also like they do like they gave you a gift bag when you enter, and it had like a lot of weird stuff. They did, I guess, shoelaces. I guess is what these are that they give. They give shoelaces, and they actually had the little glitch logo. And then the affiliate gift were keys to replace on your mechanical keyboard.
Okay,
so
cute.
that's how they bribe you.
I think most people that got that gift was like, all right.
Yeah,
it's hard to complain about free, but it's a little bit, I don't think I'll be using this, but okay, it's cute.
Yeah, and I will say that it's like I didn't see as much of the infrastructure stuff as on the monorail because I'm hashtag humble brag. I was technically an exhibitor. So I got in there, an hour and a half before the doors opened.
Earlier for most of the Twitch con.
Yeah, because I started it. Well, and I started all my stuff like at 10 o'clock. So like the doors were open and we started. We GDQ changed that. That's why everything shifted like 30 minutes so people could actually like get in and stuff. But no, I had to be there early, so I missed all the music festival kids on the monorail. The monorail was half empty when I was going and stuff. So it was very interesting being, for once being an exhibitor at a con and just being able to just walk right past the line of all the people. And I could have taken in a backpack. You couldn't, because they have a very strict bag policy, but not for exhibitors.
You can take in a small man bag though, because Alan had one every day. So it just had to be certain dimensions.
Yeah, and the bag I had was the bag I normally use that you see that has the Georgia Power G on it. It was too big. I did the dimensions on it, and it was too big. But I could have taken it because I'm an exhibitor. They would have let me in with it. But it's okay. It was cool.
All right. Well, I think we talked a lot about TwitchCon,
Yep.
and we'll talk more, of course, on our Sunday night shows. Of course, over at the Voice Geeks Network, twitch.tv/VOG Network. Bobby, I know you'll go into it on your show, the Bobby
Yep.
Blackwolf Show, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific this Sunday. And then, of course, Orange Lounge Radio. Dark Sakura
Mhm.
was also there and will join us for a report. She's
Yep.
coming back today. She spent one more day in Vegas. So
Mhm.
they'll be joining us on OLR this coming weekend as well, which is on right after Bobby
And
at 9 Eastern.
and I do have some video that I will be showing that I shot. But
Oh, cool.
frankly, if you watched any of Twitch, anybody on Twitch that was at TwitchCon, they streamed from the con. That's the thing I didn't talk about is just the influencer culture,
It's
and
a
like
lot of it, yeah.
everybody streaming from streaming in the halls and streaming and talking to their audience, walking through Artist Alley, or having their personal soundtrack going down through the hallway. There was one woman who can rap any word
Yeah,
and was freestyling
yeah.
and going around, and we had karaoke going around, and it was the influencer culture, and they were all there and doing stuff, and I'm sure that the internet was not that great for a lot of
No,
them.
well, I was surprised how well cell signals and that sort of thing held
Yeah,
out. Now, granted, I wasn't streaming, but
right.
I feel like they thought ahead. It's interesting
Yeah,
because all my gripes about TwitchCon really have nothing to do with Twitch. And so it's kind of
yeah,
unfortunate that I'm like, I really don't want to go back if it's in Vegas again next year.
yeah.
If unless I hear really definitively that they have that racing crap sorted out.
Yeah.
That's the only way I'd go back. But anyway, let's end on
Yep.
a different note here. I want to ask you one final question, Bobby, and of course this would be
Mhm.
the mandatory question. Now that you've been to TwitchCon, would you go again?
Uh, Only if I am affiliated with an event that is going on at TwitchCon. Would I go just to go? No. But if I was working somehow, or on a panel, or working with GDQX, or some other event that's going on TwitchCon, yes, I would go back, and even if it's in Vegas. But would I go if I didn't have any of that? No.
If it was in, let's say, Atlanta or something within your drivable orbit, gosh, I don't know, Nashville, Memphis, I don't know, something a reasonable distance, in a car, would you do it then?
I'd go for a day.
Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, I will probably go again, but it really depends on, where are they having it, is a huge question mark.
Yeah.
And I might go for a day. I'm kind of like you. If I'm involved in some capacity, I'll just go for the whole thing.
Hmm.
But if I'm not, I might go for a day and then hang with communities. Cause
Yeah.
that's what it was about, is about seeing community, and Twitch really, exhibits the power of community. I'll go whatever day the drag showcase is and hang out with cool people the rest of the time. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, again, stay tuned to our shows for more talk on TwitchCon 2023 and much more going on in gaming and gaming culture and beyond. So thank you so much. I was Rob Roberts. He's Bobby
And
Blackwolf.
I'm still Bobby Blackwolf to this day. You were Rob Roberts. I am Bobby Blackwolf.
Fine. But this was our video on TwitchCon 2023 experiences and feedback. We will see you next time, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Have a good one. Bye-bye.